Every park that builds a new ride tries to sell it by setting some kind of record. Tallest, fastest, longest. It seems like, these days, parks will avoid adding good coasters if they'll have problems with marketing. Some of those small coasters are awesome, and today I want to celebrate them. These are the 20 best coasters I've ridden under 100 feet. Just a reminder, this is based on the coasters I've ridden, so I'll run them off and explain why the ride is good despite not hitting triple digits in height. At the end, I'll talk about some of the other world's best short coasters I haven't been on yet. First, some honorable mentions. Switchback at ZDT's is a work of art. The Gravity Group crammed the world's only shuttle coaster into a family fun center. 64 feet tall, 56 foot drop, and it keeps its speed very well. Lots of good lower the ground elements forward and backward. Space Mountain at Disneyland is set indoors, reaching about 85 feet, and it tears around its course at a max speed of 32 miles an hour. That doesn't seem right, but when you combine darkness with sharp turns, it feels like you're going 100. Last one, Apocalypse at Magic Mountain comes close to the mark. 95 feet and 87.3 foot drop, using that speed to deliver a fun first half, but could stand some more speed to make the second half better. Number 20, for Bolton at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. Built by Zir, this starts with a launch into a dark show building. The ride getting surprisingly intense around the turns. Then you got a drop track and a launch into the ride's max height, setting up an 88-foot drop into the river, the same one its predecessor Big Bad Wolf used, and one of the few visible parts of the ride. The ride is very launch reliant with special effects, but that 88-foot drop serves as a great finale. Number 19, Dragakongan at Jers Summerland. One of the biggest surprises of my European trip. This looks like a Vekoma family suspended coaster, just Intamin's version, but this took it to the next level. It starts with a tire launch into a dark section, an awesome way to set the tone. Then goes up 98.4 feet and into a very intense lower the ground series of twists and turns. It's a family coaster, so it doesn't need to be that fast, but it does a lot with the height and speed it has. Number 18, Mugani at Lost Island. Relocated from Leesburg in Sweden, this is the headline coaster at Lost Island, but it isn't going to dominate the skyline. This top hat maxes out at 78.7 feet, almost comically small, using a powerful hydraulic launch to get up and over that, and then using a very compact plot to complete its course. A loop, tight swooping turns, and a slow roll to end. Number 17, Zeus at Mount Olympus. CCI built this to be an airtime machine, and they did a great job. It goes up 90 feet, makes a left turn, dives down 85 feet, and goes into a series of airtime hills across the front of the park. Has a huge turnaround and does the same thing coming back. Last time I rode it, it was pretty smooth. The hills are in good proportion, so you get a lot of negative Gs, and you hit the brake run with some force. You can hear the upstop wheels spinning like crazy by the end. Number 16, Copperhead Strike at Carowinds. This mock launch coaster is just a mess of a twisted orange track, using 2 launches to get all its speed, traversing 5 inversions, its tallest point being 82 feet off the ground, and it seems like that comes after the second launch, going up into this hang time filled cutback. This was built for hang time and ejector airtime, and it doesn't even have a drop anywhere in its course. Number 15, Giant Dipper at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. First, let's wish this coaster a happy 100th birthday. A few more years and it can run for national office in the US. This has held up extremely well. As of my ride 3 years ago, it was very smooth and very forceful. 70 feet tall, 65 foot drop, good airtime and a good setting on the beach. It's totally worth your time if you visit Northern California. Number 14, Skyrocket at Kennywood. You might look at that top hat and think it must be at least 100 feet tall, but you'd be wrong. It's only 95 and it uses a rolling LSM launch to get up there. This crawls over the top, but that's why you sit in the back. You get tossed on the way back down. Go into one of the greatest inversions ever with that 0G roll, and that dive off the midcourse is great also. We don't talk about the rest of the ride. They might as well have used RCT autocomplete, but it's still my second favorite at Kennywood. Number 13, West Coast Racers at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Pretty much the same story as Copperhead Strike. It uses 2 launches to get up to speed. It doesn't have a real drop anywhere on the ride. Instead of being set in its own plot, this one wraps around the entire underground section of the park. 2 inversions on the white side and 2 on the yellow side. Its high point being these interlocking corkscrews, 67 feet. It's got positives, negatives, laterals, and hang time. And it does a good job dueling the other track on every cycle. Not the most forceful ride, but a lot of fun. Number 12, Cyclone at Luna Park on Coney Island. Built back in 1927 and the inspiration for so many coasters that came after it. This is 75 feet tall and has a 60-foot drop. A double out and back layout that still brings the force and runs great almost 100 years later. The trains are small and the lap bar is weird, so try to make yourself comfortable and enjoy this American classic. Number 11. Boardwalk Bullet at Kemah Boardwalk. I talked about the Gravity Group cramming a wooden coaster into a family fun center, but this cram job was even more impressive. They stuffed 3,200 feet of track into 1 acre of land, 96 feet tall, 92 foot drop, winding into and around its own structure, just the opposite of a sprawling wide open airtime machine. This is a furious series of twists and turns, and I'm excited to finally get to rewrite it later this year, 6 years after my first ride. Number 10. American Thunder at Six Flags St. Louis. It's not an original layout. It was cloned from another GCI coaster called Thunderbird at Power Park in Finland, and I've always been so impressed by the way it runs. 82 feet tall, 80 foot drop, just a great layout full of airtime. Though, honestly, if it ran faster, it would be more forceful. They could have pushed it to 99 feet and it would have been number 1 on this list. Number 9. Mindblower at Fun Spot Kissimmee. Roughness aside, the Gravity Group built an awesome wooden coaster. It's 83 feet tall, starts with an 80.5 foot drop, goes into a great corkscrew, and from there it's nothing but sharp airtime hills. That's why this coaster works. When you don't have a lot of speed, just stay low to the ground and toss you out of your seat over and over again. Number 8. Raven at Holiday World. It's amazing how many short coasters seem to win the awards for World's Best Wooden Coaster, Raven being among them. This starting with an 80-foot lift, diving underground at 85 feet. And if you ask me to describe Raven, I would say it's out of control. Not a great top speed, but it darts around the woods, full of airtime. 2,800 feet of track, so not too long, carrying that intensity all the way to the final breaks. Number 7. Cornball Express at Indiana Beach. It doesn't seem like this is only 55 feet tall, but apparently it is. Starting with a twisted drop to the right and circling around its plot, including the entirety of Tiger Coaster. It keeps its speed well, it has great airtime moments, and it only has a buzz bar so you get the maximum airtime every time. This is hands down the best coaster in the park and only needs 55 feet to do it. Number 6. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot. I don't know how tall this really is, I can't find that information anywhere. However, given how it's inside a show building, it can't be that tall. It gets all its speed from the LSM launch, that getting over 60 miles an hour, doesn't have any drops, just spins and winds around for over a mile of track, using special effects, and it's considered by a lot of people as the best Disney coaster. It's close for me, but I like Expedition Everest a little bit more. That unfortunately clears 100 feet, so it's not allowed to play here. Number 5. Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure at Islands of Adventure. This coaster has everything. Dark ride, good theming, great setting, 7 launches, drop track, backward section. It just doesn't have much height. It does a great job hiding among its landscape. The only time it rises up is that spike that stands 65 feet tall, rolling back into the backward part. I was very impressed with the ride, even though it replaced the Awesome Dragon Challenge. But after riding it, I was like, okay, you win. This ride is pretty awesome. Number 4. Coaster at Playland. This Canadian Woody dates back to 1958, and it's just a throwback to a different time. You can't imagine a coaster being built this janky and powerful these days, only standing 68 feet tall and having a 67-foot drop, but those airtime hills are out of this world. It helps that the train has a lap bar that's pretty much useless. At least when I rode it, it did. Now, it has seatbelts, so that's too bad. But I get it, I'm surprised nobody got hurt in this thing over the last 60 plus years. Number 3. Renegade at Valley Fair. One of GCI's most celebrated coasters. This is full of twisted airtime hills that throws you out of your seat while ripping you left or right. It's rough as holy hell, but I still ride this over and over again. The forces are that good. Its lift is 97.5 feet, the drop is 91.4 feet, and that's enough to keep the train rocking down the course all the way to the final breaks. Number 2. Zippin' Pippin' at Bay Beach. This ride's not complicated. It's a line of floater airtime hills going out and one bonkers ejector hill coming back. It's smooth, aside from those janky turns. It's airtime heaven, and it's only $1 to ride, so bring a 20 and just marathon all day. You feel that raw power on the final hill, and that's crazy considering it's only 70 feet tall and has a 63-foot drop. Number 1. Phoenix at Knoebels. This tops another list, and even though it's quite overrated, I still think it's a lot of fun and has an amazing story. This opened at a park in San Antonio back in the 40s, moved to Knoebels in 1985, and you would never know it if you rode it. So smooth, so many great airtime moments throughout the ride. The double up and double down and the finale being the highlights, tossing you up time after time before the final breaks. Doing this with a 78-foot lift and 72-foot drop. Not even close to 100 and still world class. These are just my personal favorites, but if you look around the world, you'll find a bunch of great ones. 3 of them are at Germany's Phantasialand. I don't know how tall Fly is exactly, but it looks like it's under 100 feet. launching you in a flying position around the Rookburg section of the park, never getting too high off the ground. We do know that Black Mamba is 85.3 feet with an 88.6 foot drop, one of the best themed and most interesting inverts out there. And of course, Terran, the Intamin multi-launch coaster. That reaches a max height of 98.4 feet, zipping around all those rocks, and a lot of people say this is one of their favorite coasters ever. 3 other coasters are at Alton Towers, and since they can't build above the tree line, this category is right up their alley. Nemesis doesn't count, it's only 42 feet tall but has a 104 foot drop. However, Wickerman is their new GCI wooden coaster, great theming and only 72.2 feet tall. Galactica was the first B&M flyer, focusing on all those acrobatic elements in your stomach and back, only 65.6 feet tall. Then, you of course have the Smiler, the world record holder with 14 inversions, only 98.4 feet tall but uses 2 lift hills, so that helps a lot. Away from Phantasialand and Alton Towers, you also have the coaster that launched the new age Vekomas, Formula at Energylandia, 81.4 feet tall in that first Sidewinder. Finally, we go to Mexico and RMC, Medusa Steel Coaster. This one gets rave reviews, but it only stands 98 feet tall, the shortest RMC aside from the new Fire in the Hole. So there you go, let me know what your favorite sub 100 footer is, and which one looks like the best in the world. Before you go, please drop a like, and if you're new here and want to see more like this, please give me a sub. Also, check out my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you also happen to love baseball like I do. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.